Hello there, brothers. Scott Reese.
Brian King.
And we're back.
For another edition of the TrestleBoard, 4th of July edition.
Is that what you're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it.
Well, you got the right background on there.
Yeah. Stars and Stripes. Today we're shooting this. It's Friday, July the 2nd. Hopefully we don't have any technical difficulties, any more than we've already had. We've had a few. But we'll get this out today. And happy 4th of July to everybody. Be safe, be happy, and have a good time.
Well, I got one thing to say. If we done this a little more often than once every 3 months, we might get the hang of it.
So, yeah.
I mean, you know.
Every time's the first time, it seems like almost.
Well, we always do something different.
Yeah.
You know, and we apologize. I mean, brothers, we spent a lot of time and effort, you know, making this studio that we're in now. I mean, that's the only thing we do in here is videos. I mean, we got all kind of equipment in here, you know, and, you know, every video seems like we say, well, we ain't been on here like we said we're going to. You know, we're going to promise we're going to do better. But basically, there's two reasons we don't do it. One, we're a little lazy. I'm a little lazy. And two, I got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now.
You know, it is what it is. But anyway, we're here.
Yeah, we have been a little bit busy the last
We have done a little bit. We've there's some things that we want to get off the ground. It's kind of, we ain't got off the ground yet. Some major things. But we have been doing a little shooting a little footage here and there. Mm-hmm. And one thing that we're going to start doing is every district around the state kind of has this quote unquote character. You know, this guy that, you know, he when you go into a room, he's the guy that everybody kind of goes to and hears a story or you know, gravitates to.
Either famous or infamous, one of the two.
Yeah, I mean, good, bad, or otherwise, I mean, he demands a room. So, you know, some of these guys are getting older, you know, and so we've decided that what we're going to start doing is we're going to start traveling around to different parts of the state and find these characters, and we're going to kind of get them on tape. That way, years down the road, when we're all dead and gone, you know. Like now you hear stories about so and so back in the day, you know, he'd have done this, or you know,
Willard Hart could do degree work,
right.
And you know he's passed away.
So
now, you know,
basically we're going to start that. We're going to start that today. Our first guy we got, which we're in District 11, down here in South Central Kentucky. So our quote unquote biggest character, I would think most people would say, is JR Poynter. And I don't know that JR Poynter's ever done an interview. And if he has, I don't know that he's ever got on the computer and watched it.
Yeah.
You know, he probably won't see this. But anyway, so that's going to be our first one. So we went down to Bearwallow Cave City Lodge, Cave City. Mm-hmm. We met with JR a few weeks ago when we basically had a little sit down with him, interviewed him, asked him a few things, let him tell what he wanted to tell. I won't give away too many details, but it was a little lengthy. So what we're going to do is on this video we're going to show part 1 of the JR Poynter interview. So here in a few minutes we'll key that up and we'll run part 1.
Yeah.
And then maybe in a few days, a week or whatever, we'll get part 2 going.
And whether you like him or hate him, I would watch the video because you do get to see a different side that you might not have saw before.
Yeah. I'll let you in on a little bit of, you know, I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. You know, anybody knows JR Poynter, I told JR right as the interview was just about over, I said, JR Poynter, there's 2 things I can't believe you didn't do. He said, what's that? I said, 1, you ain't said a cuss word the whole video. And 2, you ain't flipped nobody off. And I think in the last 2 minutes he does both. So, anyway, he gets a little emotional at times in the video, shows some emotion. So it's like I say, it's a side of JR Poynter a lot of people haven't seen. So I hope you enjoy the video. But before we get into the video, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to bring up that I had an idea for is in the last year, of course, with all the stuff going on, a lot of lodges have been suffering, and some individual Masons and brothers have been suffering. And I thought, what's something that we can do? And we're not the only ones that's had that idea. The Widow's Sons had a charity ride, and the money raised for that's going to help lodges and brothers. So we thought maybe we just kind of mirror that. So I want to think of something to raise a little bit of money, nothing too major, that we could do to raise money to help lodges and people. We're not going to make a dime off of this. All the profits is going to go to individuals or lodges. And whenever we do give some of that money away, we'll try to document it on here and let you know where it went or what it went to. So I had these coins made. Challenge coins. I'll play a video so you can see a little bit closer. On the front, it's Kentucky TrestleBoard, See You Down the Road Brothers 2021. It is a thick coin, as you can see. And on the back of it, we got the podcast, West Traveling East, ever changing, ever evolving. It is in a gunmetal. I wanted to try a little bit different colors and words than normal.
It's a very unique coin. It's a heavy coin. Yeah. Most of your coins are either gold or silver.
Real flashy. I didn't want to be real flashy.
It's unique. I mean, I guarantee you ain't nobody got one like it. And which I mean, I'm always looking at ways to help brothers and to help people. But you also, that being said, you know that I've said it 1,000 times. We got to be careful, like when you got a format like this of advertising things and trying to make money off of it. But when you come to me with this idea and you're like, look, I'm going to get this, whether we do anything with it or not. So it's like, well, let's put a little money behind it. Let's see if the brothers out there in the state want to help the other brothers in the lodges. If they do, if they want to buy a challenge coin, we'll challenge them to buy one. 100% of this money that we get from these coins, we're going to either give to a Masonic lodge that's in need or a brother from a lodge in the state that's in need. So... Yep. I said, if you'll do that, I'm for it. We'll put it on here. If they want a coin, they can have one. If they can buy one for $10. If they don't want a coin, then we'll have a sack full of coins.
Yeah, and we won't make a lot of profit. Won't be a lot of profit off this. I didn't get a whole lot made. If you take away the cost, it'd be I think somewhere around $500, something like that. There's only 100 of these, so they should go pretty quick. Hopefully, if not, like I said, we'll have a sack of coins. So we got 100 of them.
We'll use them for something.
Yeah, and I'll try to carry a few of these in my pocket. I haven't been doing that. We probably got about 95 left because I haven't really been advertising them.
All right. Well, that being said, you about ready to get to the video? Oh, before we get to the video, I ain't say nothing about my little buddy here. Let me see my little gnome here. One of my daughters got me this for Father's Day, a little old Harley Davidson gnome, and I had absolutely no place to put it, so he come on set with us. Keep the microphone busy, I guess.
Yeah, if you think of a good name for him, put it in the comment to the video.
There you go. All right, you ready to get into this video?
All right, let's get to it before we mess up on something else.
No further ado, JR Poynter, Part 1. Hello there, brothers. We're here with JR Poynter down here at Bearwallow, Cave City 231. JR, glad you could be with us for this interview. One of the things that we're trying to do is go around to each district and get some of the guys from each district that have been around a while and everybody knows and they travel a lot, know a lot of stories. So that being said, here we are. I don't think there's anybody in this part of the state that don't know JR. So that being said, if there's anybody else that's watching that don't know exactly who you are, why don't you tell them a little something about yourself?
JR Poynter, born and raised in Knobley, Kentucky, and 65 years old and proud to get this far.
What year were you born in?
1956.
Anything memorable from when you was growing up that might stand out more than anything else?
No, I thought I was an abused child, but evidently I turned out to be a pretty good kid. They thought I was going to wind up being an outlaw, but it didn't work out. Not quite like they thought it was going to be anyway, especially the teachers that I had.
Well, let's talk about your Masonic journey. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you want to become a Mason, how old you were when you joined, and kind of tell us your Masonic journey as far as what you've done in Masonry and what all offices you've held, and a little about your travels and that sort of thing.
Well, I came into the lodge in November of 1995. Come in on my son's 19th birthday. And what really started me to being curious about it, my father-in-law, Kenneth Gore, was a member of Cave City 790. And there would be some nights I'd go by his house. Now, I'm the type of guy that I never go home after work. I go somewhere to find somebody to loaf with or talk with. And so I went by, and sometimes my pappy-in-law would tell me, say, well, I'm going to go to lodge tonight. And I've got to be up there 7:30. And I thought, well, okay. And as time went on, and he would come to lodge, I'd say, is this the night you go to lodge? And he said, yeah. He said, I'm going tonight. And I said, well, what is the lodge? He said, well, it's a place that men go and do good things. And he said, there's a lot of good people, a lot of well-known people that is involved in Masonry. And I said, well, just who are some of them? And back in the day, it was Lloyd Green and Clarence DeVore and Hoopum Campbell, and there was a lot of the business prominent men. Jimmy Joe Jolly, that was on Jolly's Restaurant down here, and he wound up turning it into a funeral home and called it Bob Hunt's. And Bob Hunt was a son-in-law to Jimmy Joe, and so my curiosity got up, and I coached football and baseball for a number of years in the youth program, especially when we moved to Cave City in 1983. We come off down here, and my mother was born and raised right here in Cave City. So I come to the point that I wound up marrying Terry Gore, and her dad was a super guy. Man couldn't ask for no better in-laws than what I had. They took me in just like I was one of theirs, and they took in both of the boys. And they were so proud of them. And and as time went on, I coached baseball and football, and I never would coach basketball because every mama in the country knows how to coach basketball, so you don't want to get involved in basketball, not unless you want to take a bunch of them. I took enough tail chillings, but after that, it didn't really make any difference, but you kind of learn to tune them out, But I finally one day told my daddy-in-law, I said, well, what does a man have to do to get in that Masonic lodge? He said, you just said it. And I said, tell me where that Masonic lodge is. He said, whenever you go up to the high school, he said, you pass it every day. And when that curiosity got up, and Kyle Boston was a buddy of mine, and we coached together, and we built baseball fields and tried to do things for the school up here where it wouldn't cost them any money. But we got involved and got in with the coaching staff up here, and finally they just put us on staff. We were basically the groundskeepers. Well, and I told Kyle, I said, Kenneth belongs to one of them lodges. And I said, I don't know that much about it, but I said, I'm kind of curious. I said, when we go by there today and go up 31, I said, let's find out where that lodge is. I said, he said it's right here on 31. Kyle said, where? And I said, heck, I don't know, but we'll find out. So we drove up and down this road for 2 weeks, every day, going to the high school, work on the football field, work on the baseball field. Finally, one night I come in, Kyle said, I don't know where it is. So I go back and I asked my daddy-in-law, I said, Kenneth, I said, where is that Masonic lodge? He said, up 31W, right across from the wigwam. I said, well, there ain't nothing up there but a church. And I said, I think it's one of them Seventh-day Evangelist churches or something. I don't ever see nobody there. He said, no, son. He said, that's the Masonic lodge. I said, I've lived here 50 years all my life. And I said, I didn't know there was a Masonic lodge there. He said, well, it's been there since 1953. I said, really? So then we kind of figured out where the lodge was. And I told him, I said, well, I think I'm ready to join. I said, I'm going to finish this season now. And I said, it'll be over with mid-July. And I said, I'll be ready to join. And that was like the following Thanksgiving before. And when we got up here and we started talking about it, he said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, you're young, 39 years old when I come in. He said, you need to join Bearwallow Lodge. I said, well, I want to join the lodge that you belong to. He said, nah, he said, you don't need to do that. He said, you need to join that lodge, Bearwallow. I said, well, why? He said, we got a bunch of old men up there, and he said, all they do is fuss and argue about money. He said, and them younger boys over there belong to Bearwallow. There's Norman Taylor, and Neil Lawson, and a lot of young guys your age, and y'all have a lot in common. He said, and when you get in, he said, if you get in, he said, you can go to K-City with me. Well, I said, okay. He said, I'll send somebody to see you.
And both lodges met at the same building.
Yeah, they met the second and fourth Thursday.
Even though you're saying you go to another lodge, it's still the same building.
Yeah. We met on the first and third Tuesdays, and they met on the second and fourth Thursday. And so later on in that year, as the season, I told him, I got the horse ahead of the cart. I told him, I said, well, I'm ready to join. I'm going to finish this season up. And I said, I'm done. Well, lo and behold, he never did get to see me take my first degree. He passed away. And he died in April. And so they just kind of let things lie. And so that night they come down, A.B. Brown and Charlie Emery and Albert Farrell, Ronnie Coffey, and a lot of old guys that's not here anymore, come down and perform the Masonic rites on Kenneth. And I was very impressed with those Masonic rites. And they presented Mary Lou, which was Kenneth's widow. And we took and they presented the family a Bible. I got ahead of myself. I lost my mother-in-law in 1990. Lost two of the most influential people of my life. And then that July, my daddy died. So we lost, and long about the last of July, 1st of August, down at the office, down the road about a mile from here, there was 3 men come into my office there. Well, I'd done filled out a petition. Mark Sanders and Lynn Meta signed my petition to come in the lodge. And like I said, I knew a lot of people that was in Bearwallow. And so they came in and investigated me. And then it was September, late September, 1st of October, they come to me and said, they accepted your petition. And luckily, I was able to take my first degree on November the 21st, 1995. As before, as I told you, my son was turned 19 years old that day. Y'all know how it is with birthdays. So here my son's turning 19 years old, and I'm going to the lodge to take my first degree. But they didn't have a problem with it, so I come on up. Terry's been very supportive. She fusses a little, but overall she knows what I do and what we represent. And whether she wants to admit it or not, I think she's pretty damn proud of me. But we come on in, and I take my first degree, and in December I do my fellowcraft degree, and in January I take my Master Mason's degree. Well, my birthday falls on the 17th, so I'm going to turn 40. And so I took my Master Mason's degree on 2-3 days after my 40th birthday. It was cold. It was so cold. It was awful. And it was snowing. And I thought, well, we won't have no big crowd, will we? Nah, wouldn't be nothing like that. And I said, well, okay. I said, well, it'll be all right. So back in the day, they used to do all the Master Mason's degrees got done on like Saturday night. Well, I roll in here Saturday afternoon, 3:30, 4 o'clock. The guys are preparing the meal. They're all talking and all this, about to clean underwear and all that stuff. Well, when it got down to it, I got nervous. Well, the degree started at 6. So we come in here and this place was packed. I must have been the only monkey show in the state. There were people here from all over. They got the guys from Camp Knox to come in here. And so when they come in here, they were all wearing their regalia. They were all dressed up, and they were colonels and lieutenants and all this stuff, and they put together a degree team, and they were pretty convincing fellas too. Well, as we went through this, I don't really remember their names or nothing, but they took me off into the ante room there, and they took me in there, and the guy told me, he said, well, do you remember how you was prepared as an entered apprentice? I said, yeah. He said, you remember the fellow crowd? I said, yes, I do. He said, well, you know what happened the first 2 degrees. What do you think's going to happen in this degree? And I stood there a minute, and he looked real solemn, you know, and I thought, this man's for real. Let me tell you, at that point in time and what I've done put up with, I was willing to do anything they wanted me to just to get done that night. And they come in and they performed the 3rd degree. Well, I had colonel on each side of me, and they were talking to me the whole time the degree work was going on and explaining what was going on. And the whole time I'm thinking, they're going to jerk me up here any minute, and they're going to ask me a question, and I'm not going to know it. And so I'm trying to be polite, and I'm shaking my head, but the whole time I was trying to watch what was going on. And he said, what are you going to give them tonight? I said, well, what you mean? And I'm still watching the crowd go about their business, and they said, well, I give this finger. And they didn't have no finger. It was like this. Another guy said, well, I did too. And one on each side of it, both of them had lost their ring finger. And I thought, holy crap, what's going to happen here? They're going to cut something off? I believe I'll give them a toe. I need my fingers to ripple them bags and them potato chips. Well, needless to say, they didn't take my finger off. But that was a night to remember. But we went through that, and I was raised as a master mason and been very proud for the last 25 years for that. Seen a lot of people come and go, people that I dearly, dearly loved and missed.